So I think the main broad question I'm dealing with right now is the role of neoliberal urban policy, which is privatization of social housing or public housing, gentrification, what role that plays in the reproduction of class and race segregation. In that context, what is the relationship between class and race segregation? There's a lot of focus on racial segregation, and particularly in terms of anti-discrimination. But my question has to do more with if you attacked and really challenged class segregation, to what extent would you solve or address some of the problems around racial segregation rather than just looking at anti-discrimination policies alone? And I'm interested in that in the context of the United States, Europe and the UK, and also Australia. I think as a pedagogical tool to look at a different context. And one of the best parts of public housing or social housing in the UK and Europe is that it's a much broader sector than it is in the United States. And it's more diverse, more racially diverse, ethnically diverse. And so I think that it'd be easier looking at a different context to distill, again, those really class and racial features in a way in which I hope will highlight the sort of class aspects of housing stratification in the U.S. Again, I think that there's some real lessons to be gained from both the United States, but also then back, since so many of these urban and contexts have borrowed the deconstruction or the demolition of public housing from the United States. Talking about lessons here will also have some implications for those countries and those urban contexts as well. Because one of the things I will be looking at in particular in the context of the rollout of neoliberal urban policy is what role have black middle class politicians, policy elites like heads of the Urban League and the NAACP, what role have they played in the United States, but also what role to sort of nonprofit housing associations play in the UK, play in other parts of Europe, and also play in Australia in ways that help to legitimate really this sort of devolution or this deconstruction of public housing at the, I think, peril or disadvantage of public tenants. With a focus that spans the United States into Europe and Australia, there's really a community of scholars, critical urban scholars, who are looking particularly at this trend of deconcentration of poverty going across different nation states, all in sort of formerly advanced industrial societies or welfare states. So I think that community would be interested in looking at what I'm talking about in the United States, and also trying to see to what extent are particularly the race and class dynamics replicated in other national contexts and other urban contexts. So much of the deconcentration of poverty has been talked about as being the benefit of public tenants, but then there's so much of the literature saying that actually they don't benefit that much. So what are the real causes? And I think when you get to the point of looking at particularly the need to really open up or make available high-value land in the inner city through gentrification, that ends up being a big causal factor. So I'm hoping that activists, housing activists who also see that or would benefit from the analysis and in terms of, again, different urban contexts. Well, my areas of teaching, I'm in politics department and also Africana studies. So a large part of it in politics has to do with urban politics and African American politics. And of course, with that overlaps with Africana studies. So Black Migrations is a seminar that I will be teaching in the next couple of years in a kind of comparative focus and as a way of really exploring what does blackness mean in the United States these days? What does black identity mean with the fact that you have people come from so many different national contexts? So there's that class, and then this coming spring I'll be teaching a class on black radicalism.